Hi, everybody. Welcome. My name is Julia Mandeville, and I am very honored to speak with you and welcome you tonight on behalf of Harwood Art Center. For 29 years, we have rooted all of our work in our physical place, and since March 13th, when we closed our center to the public, our team, with their extraordinary imagination and vision and dedication and bravery, I will say, has been reimagining how to do our work at a distance in missional service and with just deep shared love and reverence for the community that we're part of. And this is our first beta test of a distance engagement in this form for our galleries and exhibitions program. And we're really grateful for you to be here with us tonight. When we are on site, we begin every public event with a land acknowledgement, and I'd like to do that tonight as well. We're coming to you from Albuquerque, New Mexico, and as a step towards honoring the truth and achieving healing and reconciliation, our organization commits to opening all public events and gatherings with a statement recognizing the traditional native lands on which we stand. There are 23 Indian tribes, 19 Pueblos, 3 Apache tribes, and the Navajo Nation located in New Mexico. It is with humility and consciousness of this shared history that we acknowledge the wealth that this land represents, the wealth that its theft conferred upon the occupiers, and the repercussions that linger for the indigenous peoples from whom it was taken. We further understand that such acknowledgement statements become truly meaningful only when coupled with authentic relationships and sustained commitment. We therefore continue commitment beyond words to actions, platforms, and programs that support Indigenous rights, and we reinforce our dedication to the pursuit of universal justice, equity, and opportunity. Thank you for that moment. We invite you actually to look to U.S. Department of Arts and Culture for the Honor Native Lands Treaty if you're interested in beginning your events with an Honor Native Lands acknowledgement, and if you're willing, commitment. So it's a beautiful document. So like I said, I'm Julia. I'm with Harwood Art Center. We are here tonight to hear from André and want to turn over the platform to him. But before we do, want to thank him because we've been working inspired by his show and his proposal since he submitted it last spring. And he's had a vision to be in the front gallery at Harwood for that long. He has been making a beautiful portfolio. He has been preparing his soul and his spirit for an installation in that space and for a public reception and to share that work physically with all of you, for you, to share his journey and his experience and his exploration of identity and how the world sees him and what we want now and what he wants now. And he has poured himself into this for so long and did not even hesitate to pivot and to step into this unforeseen space and to step into thought partnership with us and to work on this experiment. And it's really been an honor, and I think it's been really a great nourishment for all of us, for me and for Guru, for our Harwood colleagues. We're just very thankful to you, André, and we of course have long admired and wished to champion your work.
Thanks.
And we're just so thankful to you that we all were interested in making this shift. And now we would love to hear from you about the process and the constraints, which you so aptly and bravely decided to step into as well. And André will talk for about 10 or 15 minutes, and then we'll invite you guys to share questions through the chat. And let me make sure. Yeah, we'll allow you to share questions through the chat. We'll moderate them, and we'll be done shortly after 6. So thank you all so much. Andre, I'm going to turn it over to you and spotlight your video. Thank you, everybody. We wish you so much peace.
Yeah, thank you so much. Oh, thank you, Julia, and thank you to the Harwood. The Harwood has been absolutely amazing in making this happen. As Julia said, I submitted this proposal a year ago, and with like the current, with the global climate, it's just everything's gone absolutely crazy. But the Harwood Art Center has been awesome enough to actually make this happen. So Julia, Guru, Jordan, everyone. Thank you guys so much for allowing this to happen and working with me to make this happen. I'm incredibly appreciative. And also thanks to everyone that's in the audience, because hopefully you guys are in the comfort of your homes right now. So it's like a double-edged sword. It's cool to see art, but it's also cool to lay in bed. So I'm glad that you guys are able to do that and also experience the work with me. So thank you. And so as far as the work, what I'm sharing with you, I'm sharing with you all a body of work that's called What Do You Want Now? That is behind me that I'll show you guys more of in a moment. And What Do You Want Now is a body of work that explores the relationships I have with various individuals in my life. And these individuals vary from loved ones like friends and family to people that have absolutely nothing, people that want nothing to do with me. And that's kind of how I approach this series. All of these people have impacted me in sporadically different ways, but they're all incredibly important to me. And I also recognize that I'm a pretty codependent individual. I'm a pretty emotional individual, meaning I find a lot of personal value in how I'm viewed from the outside, especially by the people that care about me the most. And so that being said, I want to back up a little bit and kind of give you guys context to me and maybe why relationships are so important to me. So I am from Nashville, Tennessee, and I was born there by two amazingly beautiful individuals. My parents are absolutely wonderful, and they raised me and my siblings with the utmost care. That being said, I also have two brothers that are the same age as me. I'm a fraternal triplet. So I come from, I would say, a family that's a little bit bigger than the average family, having two brothers and a sister. And my sister, who is 5 years younger than me, her personality synchronizes with mine so much that she's oddly my identical twin in a way. But not only that, I also come from a family where I have tons and tons of aunts and uncles. I should be able to count the number on my hands right now, but I'm not going to do that. I would say my dad and mom have collectively about at least 10 siblings, maybe a dozen, and that doesn't include, their partners. And so family gatherings when I lived in Tennessee as a child were huge. I was always surrounded by relationships. I was always surrounded by love and compassion. And I probably took a little bit for granted. And I'll show you guys a video really soon about the installation of this before I start talking about the work itself. But I think the biggest experience to help me think about relationships was when I moved from Tennessee to Texas when I was 15 years old. It was the first time that I really experienced a sort of grandiose loss of relationships, or loss for lack of a better word. And having all those people so connected to me just through family, I think I took it for granted a little bit. And when I moved, it hit me in a way that I never had been hit before. It was the first time that allowed me to think critically about the relationships that I'm a part of. And so, that being said, I'd like to show you guys a video of the installation of the work, and then I'll kind of narrow it down to specific pieces, and we'll go from there. So,
got it.
All right, cool.
See.
Now,
Okay.
I'm André Ramos-Woodard, and this is the installation in progress at New Show. What do you want now for the Harwood Art Center? It's been installed in the galleries since all the non-essential years were closed, but the Harwood was nice enough to let me go on with the show and install in this function. Since I'll be not opening a full picture of my experience with the video, Art Show is available. is my first time doing a solo installation. It was a lot of fun. But unfortunately, and super thankful for the opportunity. Huge thanks to everyone for hard work for helping me make this show happen, especially in the current time period. Alright, everyone. Thank you for watching. Stay safe and stay inside.
Oh God, is it me now?
Yep.
Okay, cool. Okay, cool. I'm gonna go to a PowerPoint. Can you guys see that? Maybe?
We can hear it.
Okay, so when I go to the PowerPoint, did you guys see the PowerPoint?
Yes.
Okay, cool. So the body of work is called What Do You Want Now? And I want to decipher some of the pieces and also elaborate on what brought me to the body of work and how I approach it.
Sorry, Andre, we can just
Wait,
see your profile picture. Or maybe just,
okay.
I don't see the PowerPoint.
Let me. Okay, 1 second. Sorry guys.
Don't worry. It worked in our dress rehearsal yesterday.
Exactly, right?
There we go.
Okay, that's better?
Yep.
Mm-hmm.
Cool, okay, thanks, sorry everyone. So we've heard a lot about my family. I just wanted to show you guys my family. These are, the left is me as a little baby with my triplet brothers and my parents in the middle. I didn't want to turn any of them upside down, so they're sideways. So there's that. But also my sister is next to me. I just wanted to show you guys how important my family is to me as a pivot point to talk about why I make these pieces. And so the first piece that I made in the series is this one, which is called Here's to Us, Bloody Boy. And it's a visual representation of the relationship that I have with one of my closest friends. To be blunt, I made this piece simply because I missed him. Not with the intention of creating a body of work, nor with the idea of expressing kind of these feelings I had to anyone else or to an audience. Primarily, it was to cope and to make my thoughts tangible in some way. And so when I approach a piece without thinking like this, when I approach something that's more intuitive, I find that the end result ends up to be more successful to me. When I think about it as a step in the process of coping with something or making something rather than having a finite thing, my thoughts come out easier. And so since I think about relationships, I think about people, I think about the way I'm perceived, I think about my identity so much that these thought processes or these thoughts intuitively brought me to make this piece in a way that I felt was very genuine. And I would say I overanalyze things. A lot of y'all know me in this chat, so y'all know I overanalyze things. So I analyze the way that I'm perceived and how relationships unfold, specifically in my life, and how they actually exist. Something I think about is the fact that no relationship is the same, even between two individuals. Like this depiction of my friend Josh and me, for example. While we have a wonderful relationship with each other, well, I will never know exactly what he feels about our relationship, and he'll never know exactly what he feels about mine, because he cannot be in my brain. We have to rely on each other's compassion and how we interact to say those things. And I want to put those things in my drawings. I choose to draw a portrait of a person, and then I choose to abstract how I feel about the relationship. Specifically, this one was about the passage of time. Josh is someone who I cannot see very often after I moved to New Mexico for graduate school. And that sucks. This piece is called It's Hard Not to Stress When It Would Have Meant the World to Me. Specifically about the fact that we cannot really see each other whenever I visit home because of how busy he is. And as far as the way that I approach these images, I tend to work from my phone rather than like going in person, mostly because I can't see most of these people in person, right? And so I use my phone to kind of, I wouldn't say photorealistically, but to draw a portrait of the individual. The reason I use that is because I use my phone to communicate with all of these people. I mean, all of us do. And it's much easier for me to access my phone than to take my computer to the studio and draw them. So not only is it easier for me to use my phone, but it also says something about how I interact with these individuals. And I continued to work on these drawings on paper. And as I continued to draw on paper, I started to break the rules of what I thought was supposed to be my art. I had constrained myself before grad school and a little bit at the beginning of grad school to what I expected my work to look like. But once I started taking steps out, I went from photography to drawing. I started drawing on paper with pen, and then I started drawing on the wall. So kind of taking these constraints away from myself was probably the best thing that I ever could have done in graduate school. It helps me to explore these relationships and my thoughts in a different way than I ever could before. I also think a lot about symbols and like characters. Not these depictions and these illustrations and drawings are not just depictions of people I love, but they're also riddled with recognizable symbols that are maybe from comic books or maybe even from specific animes. And for those that don't know what anime is like Japanese cartoons. It's very prominent. And these things were always influential to me as an artist. And I think for the longest time, I strayed away from making these marks and drawing these things because I felt they were not my art, or that I could not use recognizable pop cultural symbols as art. And the more I made, like these are studio shots of some of the drawings in the show. But the more I made, the more intuitive the process became for me. I stopped using just pen and I started to branch out to more color. I started to use more materials. So the process of making drawing specifically kind of unlocked something in me that I never had done before at undergrad, or never had done before with strictly photography. And then I like to change it up a little bit to show you some of the photographic work in this body. For those of you that do not know, I am a trained photographer. I got my undergrad in photography, did photography for years before undergrad, and came to graduate school at the University of New Mexico as a photographer. And I had this idea that all the things I had to make be a specific way. And I came back to photography after like feeling incredibly defeated and switching to drawing with a little bit more of an intuitive, I guess, mindset. And maybe it's because I studied photography so exclusively for so long. But there was like the tactility of pen and drawing paper allowed me to let go of how precious I had imagined a digital inkjet print to be. So I started drawing on images. This is an image, one of the main parts of the show, a depiction of me and my brothers while I draw Frozen from Incredibles. But something I think has been, I guess, a pivotal point that helped me with, as far as like coming from drawing to photography, is exploring my family archive. I'd never really done that before. And I think it goes back to what I could and could not do as a photographer. I felt like I had to make everything completely from scratch. But after doing some drawings, it seemed more genuine that I was using these family photos that were found because I wanted to talk about myself in these relationships, even these relationships that are kind of somewhat manifested before I'd even been born. And what I mean is my family. And there's two versions of this piece. One's in the show, one is not, but I just wanted you to see both of those versions. But yes, the family archive is important to me because it gives me an essence that the drawings do not. And the drawings give me an essence that the photographs do not. So I mix these things in a way that can most accurately, for me, depict these relationships that I'm really trying to explore. I went from drawing to photograph to drawing on a photograph, and using collage and mixed media and Photoshop to make these relationships in my head come to life. And they're not just about love and compassion, they're also about hate and loss. And I'm gonna stand up in a moment and show you the actual installation, but I included this also because these are depictions of some of the most important people in my life. There are range from family members to my partner. And the relationships that I'm making and the relationships that I'll continue to make will forever be influential to me. I don't think it's something I can ever leave behind. I always investigate my identity, and the relationships that I make and the people that I have relationships with inherently impact my personal identity, and I wouldn't want it any other way. So thank you so much for looking at the presentation. And now I'd like to show you guys the actual installation. If you guys can see, is this doable? Maybe I should turn the camera around. Okay, so I'm going to talk about the installation process and the installation inherently. So we all know that because of COVID, I could not install work in the gallery space, unfortunately. But Julia, Guru, and everyone at the Harwood was able to make this happen because there's this, just because of our passion for art and the space to do so. I will say this was a pretty difficult installation. It's always interesting and fun to work with a new perspective. And what I mean is the fact that I'm working in someone that's on a gallery. But what do you want now? The installation itself is really intuitive. I mean, I have all these drawings on the wall, all these photographs on the wall, but the drawings that I use with marker or pen or pencil are temporary. I like the idea of responding to a space and also adding myself into that space with the drawings that I've already created and the photographs I've already created. Okay, now I'll shut up and I'll just show you guys the work. Something that this experience allowed me to do that I absolutely do not take for granted was to take my work into a context that is outside of what's considered the white wall space, you know? I don't think it's always appropriate that my work, I don't think it's always appropriate that my work fits in that space because maybe it doesn't need to be in that space to exist in a genuine way. And that is what I think I love about this opportunity. I could take my work and take it somewhere that is somewhat unexpected for it to be, at least right now. And I can like word vomit. I can art vomit into a space and make it part of my own. And that's what I really loved about the experience. And yeah, I think that's it, everyone. Thank you so much for everything, for this. Again, thank you to the Harwood for allowing me to make this happen. And I'd love to hear from you guys as far as any questions that you have. I've probably left some things unanswered, so I'd love to hear from anyone. So.
Thank you so much, Andre. Can you hear me?
Yeah, I can hear you.
Okay. Thank you so much, everybody. And can everybody see the grid view? No. It's so beautiful. If on the top right, there's a choice between speaker view and gallery view. And if you toggle, you can see everybody else who's here. Andre, thank you so much for sharing. I was wondering if we might start with you, since people can't be in the physical space, which has been, you know, it was potentially a great tragedy of our spring at Harwood was the total loss of exhibitions, because that's one of our most tactile points of missional service, and the creation of these like engagements in which art is for everyone, and which access is a center point. And yet we have been so wrapped up in that physical space that that's been where access has only really ever occurred. And so in a way, this illuminates us to think about equity and invitation in different ways. And you've been a really big part of that. And I wonder if you could talk a little bit more about the challenge of making your work, especially work that has, you know, microscopic details in some places, tiny text that really needs somebody to be right up close to it, and what it felt like for you to create, knowing that that wasn't going to be part of it.
Well, something that I thought about making the work. So let me, God, are we sharing my screen again?
Oh, I can.
Yeah, I'd like to show them.
You can.
Okay, I can?
Yeah, you can.
Yeah.
And I'll say while you're pulling it up that if people have questions, you can use the chat at the bottom of the screen to send them.
Okay. But I just wanted to show them a little more of the other side of the space, like the windows. Okay, so I don't know if you guys can see, but this is my feet. These are the windows. There's not a lot of room in the space. So I absolutely had to think about, like Julia was asking, like how could I make this work when people can't actually engage with, like, can't confront the work in a way that is intimate. They can't go up to it and spend a lot of time with it. So something that I like that kind of trickery or that play in these sort of installations with What Do You Want Now? So most of the drawings that are bigger are easy to depict. I mean, you could see from outside on the street, look through the window and absolutely see know what you're seeing. But the moments where there are small texts and the moments where there are small details are an opportunity for me to make someone want to explore more or want to even approach the window, really. So there is work that the text is so small that people cannot see. But I want to use that as I was hoping in this installation to use it as a kind of aesthetic choice, not just to give people information, but how could I draw people into the installation without having them physically in the installation, if that makes sense. So the idea that some texts or some things are not decipherable at a certain distance is something that I thought about to be more of a what's the opposite of a deterrent? I wanted to draw people in rather than just act as text, if that makes sense.
So someone asked a question that I'll quickly field, and then we have a question for you. The question is, what is the space that the work is in? And the space is in a private studio that André was able to access independently with its own entrance. And all to fall under the stay-at-home orders, which of course meant a super radical departure from a public gallery space at Harwood like we had planned. And then the question, André, for you is, how does your drawing media, ballpoint pen, marker, ink, relate to your work conceptually?
Conceptually, I honestly work very, very intuitively. And what I mean by that is the reason I don't use like pen and the reason I don't smudge to make a more realistic illustration is because it doesn't feel genuine to the way that I want to make work. And something I I like to use pen a lot because of one, I'm comfortable with pen. I remember doodling in high school and middle school, and pen was all I used. I have no idea why, but there's a comfort with me with that specific thing. But also, whenever I use pen or ink or marker, things that specifically I can't erase, there's an additive process. I can't go back and make a change by erasing it. I have to make that change by adding onto it. Just the way that I can't go back and erase the things that have happened in the relationships that I'm in. I just can only move forward and add to those relationships. So I like working additively because it's intuitive for me, but also working additively I think is beneficial to this installation specifically because I'm only moving forward. Everything's temporary, right, in these installations. In the sense that whenever I leave this space, I'm gonna paint these walls and it's gonna be completely different. It's only going to be here while it's here. And I think about pen that you can't erase in a very similar way, or marker that you can't erase in a very similar way.
Thank you. Okay, we have one more question I think we have time for. How do you think the process of creating this installation and the fact that you had to work outside of a traditional gallery setting will affect your future work and exhibitions?
That's a great question. I think it'll aid me. I personally am not a big fan of having my work only exist in spaces where it's regarded as like, I don't know, as high art. I want it to also reach people that don't have the same sort of like art academic background that I do. And maybe that means it doesn't have to be in a gallery. Maybe it can be in a place that, like a library. I'm not exactly sure, but having this experience where I can take my work outside of what's expected of me as a student opens me up to different possibilities. I don't just think, okay, well, what space? Like, what space can I have my thesis in? Like, what's art space? It can be way more than that. And this installation helped me like realize that and also just experiment with that. Uh-oh, I can't hear anybody. I can't hear you, Julia.
Can you hear me? Sorry.
Yeah.
Okay. Sorry. Okay. You answered that so beautifully and efficiently that we will have one more question. We have time. We have time. Okay. Oh, Andre, who's Tiana?
My sister.
Oh, what a lucky man you are. Do you feel your distance from most of your family made this body of work more difficult or easier to complete? Also, I love you, Andre. She said that, not me.
No. Why not? No, I'm kidding. I love you, Tiana, with all of my heart. Thank you so much for that question. I think that it made it difficult, but it made it happen. The work was not easy for me to make because as I made the work, it was coping. It was, I'm making this work, but also, damn, this sucks because I'm making this work to cope. So I need to step away from it a little bit. And it's kind of hard to put all these personal things, like, my relationship with you, Tiana, my relationship with all of these people that are watching this right now, into a context where I could tell you guys. So that is also difficult. But I will say that the experience of having to make the work is something that I don't take for granted. And I say I wouldn't change. Of course, I want to be beside you every second of the day, the family, Tiana. But it was difficult to make, but it was necessary for me to make the work, and I'm still making it.
Thank you so much, Andre. We want to thank you all for being here. This is a strange and distant time, and more than ever, perhaps feels like these sparks for our spirit are just everything. And Andre, thank you for that. Thank you for offering that to all of us today. And thank you for, again, being such an extraordinary thought partner and inspiration for us. And
Thank you.
For everybody, we want you to know that in spite of these moments of isolation, Harwood is working very hard to continue to provide moments and bridges for connection and conversation and processing and healing. And you can find these adjusted and pivoted resources on our website. They're all there, they're updated all the time. Andre's talk will become available as a video as well. And you can see his video of installation on the site already if you want to view it again. I'll put that link in the chat. And again, we just thank you so much for spending your evening with us. We wish you all safety and peace. And we look very, 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 very forward to the day we get to see you all again in person at Harwood.
Absolutely. And again, I am so appreciative of every single person that took the time to listen to me talk. I mean, I surround myself in art, and it's hard to do so whenever we, as individuals, as human beings, have to stay 6 feet apart from each other. So, I don't know. I feel the love. So I'm very happy that you guys could do this and to take time to spend with me in the Harwood. So thanks, everyone.
All right. Well, thank you, everybody. Have a beautiful weekend, and we hope to see you soon.